For all the joys of ocean cruising, sometimes you're in the mood for smaller ships and waterways, so you can dock right in the heart of the place you're visiting, walk directly on shore, and lose no time in immersing yourself in the local vibes. Now, an iconic cruise brand will be offering both kinds of experiences, and we're delighted to be getting a preview. Joining us today is Katina Athanasiou, Celebrity Cruises Senior Vice President of Sales and Services for the Americas. Katina Athanasiou, welcome to Well Traveled with AAA.
Thank you so much for having me, Abby. I'm really, really excited to be here with you.
So let's start with the question of what makes a brand that's already so iconic in the world of ocean cruising decide to move into river cruising as well.
Thank you. So I'll tell you, first and foremost, it's absolutely our guests. Our customer continues to be the North Star, and we're really guided by their feedback, and we really work to continue to innovate and evolve and create products that meet their vacation needs. And quite frankly, our market research backed this up. We know that more than half of our guests are either interested or have already experienced a river cruise. They have a deep desire to experience cultures and history and connections with the place and people in which they visit. I like to talk about this a lot in terms of the transformation of becoming a traveler on vacation and not necessarily a tourist. And so for us, this was a natural extension of our premium offering. And we're going to start with 2 ships in 2027, and we'll be adding 4 in 28, another 4 in 29. We've publicly announced that we would have 10. And it also allowed us the opportunity to lean in heavily into our guests who love the retreat experience on ocean. And the retreat experience, for those of you who aren't aware, is the ship within a ship concept. So it's all suites, there's butler service, dedicated dining, their own exclusive sun deck. And it's this small ship within a large ship concept that allowed us to be able to explore and evolve, being able to offer this small ship offering with immersive destination content and local connection, which is what our guests are asking for.
So for people who've never taken a river cruise before, or maybe for that matter, who've never taken any cruise, could you explain why what you're talking about now is sort of easier to facilitate on a river cruise than on an ocean cruise?
Yeah, so, for us, Celebrity River Cruises is really a natural extension of our premium offering. And it's the ability to continue to provide the intimate and thoughtful service of a smaller ship, but the variety and experiences now on the river product will be on land of a larger offering. And it's through the lens of immersion and personalized service, world-class amenities, but really about, if I think about the locations in which we'll go, experiencing both kind of the grandeur and vibrancy of the cities and locations, but also the charm and blending those vibrant cultures with tranquil villages and becoming immersed in local food and drink and people and really bringing connection to a place.
Ready to experience river cruising? Discover the charm of local ports, world-class entertainment, and elevated hospitality, all with unmatched sophistication. Let us help you plan a journey you'll never forget. Visit AAA.com/travel. And speaking of the locations, I know it's already public knowledge that you'll be operating on the Danube. What made you want to start your foray into river cruising there?
Our guests, what we learned was that the Danube River cruises are typically the entree into the river space. And when we look about building this new product offering for our guests, this was about having an opportunity to create experiences within our own ecosystem, but bringing people to places in the world that they haven't yet visited. And the Danube absolutely made the most sense for us to start. And, when I look at places that are traditionally visited on a Danube River cruise, again, I go back to that combination of both grandeur and charm, vibrant but tranquil. If you think about culture and energy and rich architecture and artistry, it's bold but yet still kind of romantic, and you really get the best of both, being able to start on an iconic river like the Danube.
Yeah. So I know the specific itineraries are still under wraps for like a beat longer. So in the meantime, can we safely assume that you might be visiting some of the most gorgeous and storied cities along the river, say Budapest or Vienna, for example?
I think one could safely assume that. And yes, we are almost ready to talk more broadly about it. But yes, I think one could safely assume that.
And for our listeners who haven't spent time in that part of the world yet, could you share a preview just from your own personal experiences there about what they might expect? What were some of your own sort of personal wow moments in that part of the world?
Oh, yeah. So I had the fortunate opportunity of being able to visit Budapest specifically several years. It's been about 10 years now. And what I loved so much about it was exactly what I had just mentioned. There was this really great combination about rich history and architecture, bold colors, but also this very quiet calm and tranquilness of the people and the hidden courtyards and the cobblestone walkways. And so for me, it was this beautiful combination of excitement, but also comfort and calm. I remember so vividly the first time that I went. This is all about immersion and being able to be kind of like one in the destination.
Yeah.
And we did a market tour at the Great Market Hall to source some ingredients, to sample some local delicacies, interacted, of course, with a bunch of vendors. And then we went back and did a cooking class with learning how to prepare traditional Hungarian goulash. And I thought that was super cool. Like, how could that get any better? We talked to local people and we learned, family recipe. And then they brought us and we did another, and I like to be active when I visit destinations, and we did a floral design workshop. And so then we participated in learning how to arrange different flowers with the seasonal flowers at the time, or dried materials that are local to that particular area. And that was something that I could take back with me, which was really, really meaningful and impactful. And I remember that to this day, like it was yesterday.
Oh, amazing. And I know another iconic experience in that part of the world is a Christmas market river cruise. Will any such offering be available from Celebrity Cruises?
If I had to guess, I would probably say yes to that. We haven't yet published our itineraries, but let's be, very real. It is absolutely a must see and do from an experience perspective on the rivers. And our intention is to absolutely be able to deliver itineraries and experiences that our customers love and covet. So we're very, very excited about the opportunity to bring forth that experience for our guests.
Experience the ultimate in premium travel with Celebrity Cruises and AAA. Whether you're exploring far-off destinations or simply escaping for a while, every detail is thoughtfully designed to exceed your expectations. Book through a AAA travel agent to unlock exclusive member perks and savings. Start your journey at AAA.com/travel. So let's talk about life on board the ships. And for starters, Celebrity is building its river-going vessels from scratch, right?
We are.
And so what can you share about that and about bringing the spirit and lessons of the brand's Edge-class ships to the rivers?
When we looked at this, and we've looked at it every which way for several years, actually, and the reality was that when we had the conversations internally about acquisition of an existing product, all of which are very, very good, versus build for ourselves, the answer, quite frankly, was very clear, in that being able to build for ourselves would truly enable us to deliver the experience our celebrity guest is looking for, and what the experience and offering of the celebrity guest expects from a brand like ours. So versus taking on hardware that others had built around their guest, this was about how can we build for ours. So building from scratch was absolutely, it made the most sense. We are able to build river ships fairly quickly. So we'll bring on 2 in 2027, 4 in 28, and then another 4 in 29. And what we're most excited about is the ability to marry what we call very lovingly and intentionally the celebrity way. And what that really means is how we can deliver exceptional, elevated, and personalized service and warm hospitality that celebrity is known for, but also bringing a bit of from the design perspective, the sophistication, the modernness of our Edge class ships and the brightness and the lightness. So taking inspiration from the innovative outward design of our Edge class vessels and bringing that to the river, we believe can help create an even deeper connection to the destinations in all of the beautiful surroundings.
And what are some of the experiences that your guests have told you they've loved having above the ocean going Edge class ships, just to give our listeners a flavor of what they might expect?
I would say first is connection to the destination and how we can bring that connection. And what I really mean by that is how does visiting a place or visiting people make an impact or impression on your life? And so how can we bring through the lens of not only programming, but even ship design and activities and shore experiences, how do we make sure that each connection point we have throughout the vacation experience is meaningful for a guest? And so for us, that really remains a North Star in making sure that we stay true to what our guests are looking for and it's meaningful, intentional experiences to visit the world.
And does that affect, for example, the layout of the guest quarters, verandas, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. And it's intentional in how we build ships and the flow of some of our public spaces and where we place maybe bars and lounges or dining spaces or nooks and crannies for people to read a book. Yes, we're very, very intentional about creating the right flow and space for people to enjoy as they are looking to.
Are you enjoying Well Traveled with AAA? Subscribe to this podcast today and share your thoughts on ratings and reviews. In terms of incorporating local elements from the rivers that your ships will be visiting into the onboard experience, how might that play out with food, entertainment, local wines, etc.?
So I think you can expect, while we sail through into the heart of some of these cultural and historic cities, that you would be able to experience locally inspired cuisine, unique shore excursions straight into the cities and the towns and the villages. You know, we pride ourselves, we prepare our food fresh every single day. So if you think about the idea of being local into a port whereby we can walk off and procure the fresh veggies and fruit and be able to then have the locally inspired cuisine that day and evening, those are the types of things that we want to bring our guests closer to local flavors and influence. So you'll see a lot of local influence on food, entertainment, signature beverages, and all of the included.
How does seasonality affect the kinds of cruises people might want to consider? We've of course already talked about holiday markets, but how else might timing play into the kinds of cruises that people might want to look at?
I think, again, it's depending upon the overall objective. And if people are looking to do a certain market, or they're looking to do a certain season in which they're looking to see certain flowers bloom, or maybe it's festivals that are known for that particular region, it's important that you're working with a AAA travel agent to help guide you along that path, or to say, this particular month you may have a rainier season, so just be prepared, and to help really kind of manage expectations.
Right. So let's talk a bit more about life on board a Celebrity River ship and what that will look like, and how will the local ports influence experiences with food, entertainment, wine, spa, and anything else that goes on board.
So the first is the local ports and the local influence of the people and the culture are going to be critical for us in how we deliver the vacation experience for our guests. It's not enough to just take our guests to these historic cities or the world's most iconic rivers. It's about sailing through and to the heart of the culture in these cities. And part of that is experiencing locally inspired cuisine and influence on the food and the drink and the type of culinary experiences, as well as shore experiences, is critical to what we believe our guests are really going to enjoy. So think about docking straight into the cities, towns, and villages, and being able to create experiences that bring our guests closer to local flavors with transformative outer spaces on the ship for our guests to do more, but also the idea of helping bring the outside in. And a perfect example of that is what we've done with our infinite verandas on our ocean-going ships, and how we plan to continue to evolve that aspect even on the river.
Well, I would love to finish with the question that we ask all of our guests, which is, what well-traveled means to you?
I thought a lot about this. And truthfully, I kept being drawn to really how it impacts how one lives, and what I like to talk a lot about, how people show up. So ultimately for me, being well-traveled speaks to the depth of somebody's experience and personal growth. So it's about connection, meaningful engagement and connection with the world and with others. And I think that shows up by cultural awareness and respect for others and kindness for others. I think it shows up in adaptability and flexibility within your own life. And I also think it shows up in being curious and being willing to learn and accept that there are so many wonderful things and cultures and people around the world, and we're just a very, very small part of it.
Well, thank you so much for all of that, and we will stay tuned for big news.
Thank you so much for having me, Abby.
You can find all of our interviews with other travel experts from around the world on the Well Traveled with AAA feed on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We hope you'll rate us or leave a comment and let us know what you think. I'm Abby Kozolczyk. Thanks for listening.